And a while ago, a dear friend of mine, somebody I work closely with doing some marketing and video, sent me the link to this thing called Gravity Glue. And I was like, you talk about glue? I was glued to the screen. I could not believe what I was watching. And I was like this. It was great. And so Michael Grab is this amazing artist, and he's a balance artist, and he works with rock, and he's extraordinary. He's from Edmonton, Canada originally, and he relocated to Boulder Creek in 2002. And by some kind of weird happenstance, through boredom, he developed or found this art of rock balancing. And it's really amazing. He creates gardens, and he does it outside, and he's really extraordinary. And this is what he said. He said, it's hard to explain how my work and my art impacts the world, but I feel it does in one very interesting way. It destroys beliefs, dissolves cognitive boundaries between what is thought to be impossible versus possible, and hence inspires people to think more in terms of possibility versus limitations. Another very core part of the practice is presence in the moment, and also impermanence, and hence gratitude. And it's really extraordinary what he does. And so I want to introduce Michael to everyone, and we're going to get a little demonstration of his work, and then later on I'm going to show you some more pictures of what he does. But he's outside, and it's cold, and we want him to kind of say hello, and then he's going to demo, and then we're going to go inside. So Michael, welcome.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing all right. It's a little bit cold here today, but I'm used to it.
So you're out a lot, aren't you?
Yeah.
And most of your work is done outside, right? Most of your work is done outside?
Correct, yes.
So tell us a little bit about your work, and then show us what you do.
Well, basically, I balance rocks. And seems like a really random activity, especially to spend so much time on. But once I came across the art form myself and started doing it, it just naturally developed into a passion. And now I just spend my life doing it. It's what I love to do. And I don't know, I just stuck with it, and now I just do it full time somehow, some way.
And just tell me, how did you stumble upon it from boredom? What were you doing?
I was just hanging out in the Boulder Creek here in Boulder, Colorado with a friend, and it was a hot summer afternoon. Boulder Creek is an excellent place to cool off, and we were just down there looking for various rocks, I think obsidian to be precise, and just the act of kind of rummaging through rocks, we started putting them on top of each other, and eventually we kind of noticed these little clicks that happened when they would balance on each other, and we just started doing that all day, and eventually we had an entire garden going across the creek, and at the end of the day I just felt extremely productive and great about all the work I did that day, and so I just kept with it and started doing it on the weekends away from my job, and from there it just kind of spiraled out of control and now it's what I do all the time.
So when you looked at it, you realized that you came upon something, you had something there.
Yeah, it was a pretty instant click in my mind, I guess. I fell in love with it immediately, and it just turned into a passion all of a sudden and unexpectedly.
Fabulous. All right, well, why don't you demo for us, and then I'm gonna hold my breath while you do it. What should I do while you're doing it besides hold my breath?
Just breathe. It's okay.
Okay. All right.
So I have a rock just out front of my place here. Grabbed a couple of rocks from the pile outside, and I'm going to balance them. So basically what I'm doing is feeling for these clicks when they lock into position or into balance. So that's basically the gist of it.
Wow.
um, yeah. So
Wow.
really,
That is really cool. I know people are like looking at it and going, holy moly. And how long will it stay like that?
well, this one is a pretty sensitive one, so a small breeze or gust of wind will probably knock it down.
Uh-huh.
I might even be able to blow on it and knock it down.
When you say you're looking or listening for the click, what do you mean by that?
Well, basically, every rock is, or most rocks are just covered in all these tiny little dents and indentations, just like the natural surface of the rock. And by lining them up in particular ways, when it locks into one of those indentations, you can kind of feel a click or vibration that runs through your fingers. And it takes an extreme amount of focus usually to not only feel the clicks, but to actually make them line up in particular ways, especially point balances like this, and using rounder rocks, and especially using a large rock on top like this one, because there's a significant amount of weight, especially running through this middle rock right here. And the trick is just lining up the centers of gravity in whatever way you choose.
And do all rocks have this thing, this way of clicking them? Or do you have to look for certain rocks?
Well, I guess the artistic aspect comes through finding certain rocks that appeal to me personally. But pretty much any rock is just completely covered in small indentations or everywhere. So yeah, pretty much any rock will work. Different rocks will work better with other rocks, and they all kind of have their own character in a way.
Fascinating. Well, I got plenty of questions for you, but I know we said you're going to do this, and then you're going to go inside, and we're going to continue talking from inside.
Yeah.
Okay. So terrific. So you take your computer. Do we give this a name? Do you give your statues a name?
No, not really. I usually don't really attach any kind of meaning to them, or, well, not necessarily meaning, but I don't really attach any kind of subject to them. They just are what they are. It's like, I guess, pure Zen in a way.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, that's what we want to get into. I want to get into what your concept of balance means. So, do you want to go inside now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Should I knock this over first?
Yeah, knock it down. Whoa! Terrific. So Michael's going to go inside, and we're going to follow him in there, and then we're going to talk to him further about what this whole notion that he has of balance, because I think, he's going to shed some extraordinary light on balance and what it means by maybe fitting things into a groove and having things connect, and they are what they are, and all these things, because we spend so much time, controlling things. And the controlling of things actually takes us out of this balance, whether it's just allowing things to be and being in alignment or being in concert with the environment and what's going on. We spend so much time controlling things that we don't notice when we're in the groove or we're in the flow of something, and being in the flow allows us to be in this balance. And Michael, I'm curious, so many questions, and I want to just say to the rest of you, if you have questions that I don't ask, because I'm asking questions that I'm curious about, but if you have questions, please feel free to call us at 919-518-9773. And if you're somewhere in the world and you can't use your phone to call North Carolina, because that's where we are, then please feel free to contact us on computers, that's plural, then the number 2, K Voice, and we will welcome you on Skype. And we'd love to have you comment, ask questions, share your concepts, whatever it is that you have, because this is a really interesting opportunity to really explore something in a realm that I don't think, I've ever thought about it. And this is going to make a big difference for me in what I do. And at the same time, we have a chat window attached to our website here on the Nissan Communications website. So if you're there or you're listening and watching our show, please feel free to sign your name in and take part in the chat. There's all kinds of comments and questions and things going on in here. So be my guest, take part in the show as much as you'd like. And this is for all of us. So as soon as you're ready, Michael, you're almost ready? Almost.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm ready. Is the light good enough?
Is the light good enough? I'm none. No. Okay, so we'll go on anyway. All right, because we can see you. And anyway, so, oh my goodness. So I have so many questions. So we talked about, do you have like favorite rocks, or you just will try anything?
Well, I definitely have favorite rocks. When I first started, I would just try anything. And that's kind of part of the learning experience, is just grabbing random rocks and seeing how they work and just experimenting. A huge part of it is just kind of the play mentality, or just putting yourself in, I guess, the mind of a child and just losing everything else and just flowing. And that's a huge part of the art, or the practice also.
So what were you like as a child?
Ooh, good question. Maybe my mom could answer better than me.
Oh, wait, should we call her?
I don't know. She is on Skype somewhere. She might be at work right now. But I don't know. I was a pretty curious kid, I guess. I've always been kind of artistic in various forms. My mom is also an artist, so I spent a lot of time learning from her, just about color and design and things like that. Mm-hmm. Played some random sports when I was little, and just generally like to be outside a lot.
Mm-hmm. I just want to tell you just some of the things that are being said on the chat, just so you know. Michael V says, balance is a gate on the truth. Thanks, Michael. And then Alexandra, she said, hi, Mike. Hi, Michael. Alexandra sending good wishes from Croatia.
Oh, yeah. I met her recently, actually.
So that's cool. And I know that there's a lot more going on here and will be. So I'll tell you as we get to some, comments or questions. So, as a child, what were you feeling? As far as this notion of balance or how life worked or how things work together, where were you with that? Do you have any memory of that?
When I was younger?
Yeah.
Not really. I just liked playing outside a lot. My family used to kind of make a tradition out of going to this or going camping at this lake, kind of way outside the city when I was growing up. And we went out there for a few weeks each summer. And out there, I just spent a lot of time with relatives and a lot of time by myself, just exploring and just, I guess, being curious about random things. Mm-hmm. I probably wasn't really thinking about balance in particular, but I was really paying attention to my surroundings, I guess.
Yeah, I would imagine that's something you've kind of been tuned into, clued into before, is your surroundings. Because I have a hard time imagining that you could go from being disconnected to being so connected. You'd have to be connected.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't really consider myself disconnected at any point. We all kind of have a connection to everything from the day we're born, but I don't know. I guess practicing this or discovering this is really just developed, I guess, a meditative presence. Where before I wasn't really consciously thinking about it that much.
So do you think about it when you're not doing it?
Think about rock balancing?
Yeah, like balancing or meditation or...
Well, yeah, I've become slightly obsessed with it. I think about it all the time. Whenever I pass a pile of rocks on the street, I always analyze every single one and see how all the different possibilities that I can think of.
Right. So your mind never stops.
No, it's usually processing pretty much every rock I see and seeing how it would fit.
And do you? So tell me about your concept or your definition of balance.
It's just a still point or silence, I guess. It's never permanent. It's always kind of ebbing and flowing, and at certain points in the path, it always reaches some kind of balance point, or I like to call a vector equilibrium of sorts, where everything just concentrates or converges into one still point. And that's kind of what a balancer is seeking when they balance rocks, is this still point amidst everything else that's moving around, including themselves.
So how does that relate to life in general, do you think?
Well, I think one of the most profound parts of the practice is really engaging the moment and kind of, I guess, forgetting about all your thoughts or worries and not thinking about the future or the past, and just completely immersing yourself in the now, which is an extremely important part to actually be able to realize a balance. You have to be completely in that moment, and you have to be so focused on the most minute details. And you just have to flow with it. If you're not focused in what you're doing at the moment, it's pretty hard to succeed in what you're doing.
Yeah. And I have there's a question here, but I want to ask you, so there's some questions on the chat, but I want to ask you, what does balance feel like?
Like with the rocks or just in general?
Well, I'm wondering if it's similar to what you're feeling with rocks as in life. I mean, in feeling balance is a piece. There's
Well, just because I balance rocks, I wouldn't really equate that to calling myself a balanced person. I imagine I balance rocks so much, maybe because I'm a little unbalanced as a person.
maybe.
So maybe I'm seeking balance in that way.
Uh,
Um, but I mean, in every specific scenario where I'm balancing rocks, and pretty much every balancer on Earth, there's at least thousands, can also probably support this. Is you really have to you have to reach a still point within yourself to be able to transmit that into those inanimate objects.
Interesting. Well, I have more questions, but I want to. There's a question out on the chat from Free, and the question is from Michael. And this is from Janelle. Is there a place in the world that you dream of going to balance rocks?
Well, pretty much everywhere. One of my dreams. I mean, wherever I go, I always bring my camera equipment and all that, and I'm usually looking for cool places or beautiful places to like either balance rocks or just sit and meditate or just generally absorb everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of my dreams is to just travel around the world and go to like a different beautiful place every week or something and just explore all the possibilities basically and just share it with people that follow my art.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is it that you want people to experience, feel, notice, like about your art?
Well, I don't really expect them anything from anybody. I mean, it gives me a great sense of just peace and like meditation just to sit in their presence. And I hope that through my photography or just sharing in general that that feeling of calmness or whatever, or serenity, or basically just can transmit to the viewer in a way. A lot of people have talked to me about when they watch me perform live or whatever, like especially in the Creek, there's just been crowds of people that accumulate ever since I began, and that's a huge part of it too, is a social dynamic. But a lot of people describe how the meditative presence transmits to them in a way also just by watching, just because it's, I mean, I'm completely still, but it's such an intense kind of moment to see if it actually works, I guess. I'm not sure. But usually it's something that most people preconceive as impossible. And it kind of shatters that belief as soon as I let go.
Well, you know, when I was watching one of the videos, I know I was experiencing what you just described because I was so glued to watching that in that moment I could have been inside my screen right next to you. Mm-hmm. And the effects of listening to the water and just watching, I was really just being there. I wasn't mm-hmm. even conscious of breathing, not breathing, time. It was just, it totally grabbed me, mm-hmm. as you say. And I don't know if your last name was always your last name when you gave yourself that last name, but it's perfect with what you do.
No, it's always my last name.
Is it really? Because it's perfect. Grab. Because you do grab attention. And you do, it is, you said something about being still and balance. So there is, I mean, stillness is an action, I guess, because there is an action of being still in balance. Even though you're not moving, you're still doing something in being balanced.
Well, the interesting part about rocks in balance is once they are set and the balance is realized, none of the rocks are doing any kind of work whatsoever. They're completely content with where they are and how they're arranged. They don't want to move, and their inertia keeps them in place. So it's completely effortless for them to sit there and balance. But I guess it takes an extreme amount of effort and focus to actually set them that way. But yeah, once they're like that, they don't think about anything, they don't grasp at anything, they don't care about anything, they just are. And some of them will just sit there all night in the dark and nothing will happen, and they'll emerge the next morning exactly the same. And if they collapse, they don't care. They're just they just go back to another position of relative balance, where they're still in another arrangement.
So let me read to you. This is from Skillet, and she says, "Hey, Mike, I've followed you on Facebook for a while, and your work is inspiring to me. Your sense of Zen is amazing. Your photos are over the top. Keep up the same work. Keep up the same work." And then Michelle said, "I agree with that about consumption." And then Skillet, your work in Scotland should be addressed there. Very interesting story. What does she mean by that? What he mean by that?
The work in Scotland?
Yes, should be addressed. Is that a story is there a story behind that?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. I went there basically to be part of a movie shoot. It was happening at a castle near Inverness. Mm-hmm. It's called Eldorey Castle, and it's on the north tip of Loch Ness. And it's a beautiful castle, once in a lifetime experience, because it's just ridiculously expensive to stay there otherwise. But yeah, it's right on the tip of the lake. Beautiful gardens all around for acres. And yeah, basically it was just part of this 2-week film shoot. And I was kind of the resident rock balancer, because they wanted to capture various aspects of magic, I guess, for the film. Or basically things that are impossible and possible, or making the impossible possible. And it's definitely one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in the world, and some of the most beautiful rocks I've ever seen. So the entire experience was pretty much like a dream. It's hard to believe that it was actually real.
Do you find it difficult since some of what you do is so profound, to explain it?
Yeah, I guess so. I can never fully explain it. It's kind of like, it's in my mind, a perfect manifestation of Zen, or just the entire concept. You can't really put it into any category. You can't really describe it through words. It just is. Mm-hmm. And it can be applied to pretty much anything and everything, but it can't really be completely described itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So do you have to be in balance yourself to be able to to be able to be with the rocks? I mean, what happens if you're having a bad day and you're out of whack?
If there's a lot going on in my mind, it can be a little bit more challenging, because you really have to clear your mind and I mean, you don't really have to do much. Just the act of balancing rocks is a little bit trance-inducing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an excellent stress release. Like if there's something going on in life and you balance some rocks, just the focus that's required, it kind of forces you into that state of mind where you don't have anything on your mind.
Mm.
And it's an extremely therapeutic practice, in my opinion.
And I wonder how similar to life and meditation that is. I mean, if we all could find something, whether it's music, whether it's just staring out in the sunset, or painting, or drawing, or balancing rock, or sitting by water, if we all can, no matter what's going on in our lives, find that thing, how quickly would we find that place of balance and that place of Zen? How quickly would we find it? I mean, because I know when I turned on your video, it didn't matter what I was doing. I mean, I'm like on the the webs, and I'm on the internet, and I'm doing all this work, and I'm trying to figure things out, and then I come upon this thing, and I'm like, I mean, no preparation to what I was seeing. I had no idea what a balancer did. I mean, for all I knew, you were on a tightrope. I had no clue. And here I am. I mean, I was there. You had me in like a split not even a split second, less than a second. I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you going to say?
Oh, actually, I think I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, let me see if I can help you remember. I mean, I was saying something about how if we all could find something that that could get us in a moment, in a second.
I mean, I would say it's different for every person. It's just like the way every person's life experience is completely unique. Just like its own fingerprint. Some people can find that space within themselves almost instantly. Other people, it'll take tons of practice, or else they might get frustrated and give up, or whatever. I don't know. I can't really speak for anybody else beside myself.
Right. Well, what is your life like? Since you spend so much time doing this or being this, what is your life experience like?
Well, I definitely do what I love. I don't know. I guess I've stopped paying attention to a lot of things, a lot of noise, if you will. Like I don't really watch TV much, or pay attention to pop culture that much. It's just not interesting to me. If I'm stressed out, I like to go balance rocks because it's just a nice therapeutic way to spend time. And I just like the peace and quiet of just being out away from everything.
There's a question on the chat. Before I do that, I just have to say, some of the things that Michael is saying seem so simple, and I'm sitting here and I'm really like visualizing and really working at putting myself in a place that I probably don't put myself in enough personally. And I love what he said, because everybody's experience is going to be different. I mean, and maybe when we're there, maybe the experience that we all can feel could be very similar, but the road to get there is going to be different, and based on who you are, it's going to be different. But even just understanding this is so profound and simple at the same time that I'm envisioning all kinds of things as Michael is speaking,